What's
And we're
going
back, right?
on? Yeah, we're back.
Oh man,
Wow.
I I feel like this is like the third time I'm doing this tonight, but it's probably just all the preparation throughout the day, making me this seem like it might be like the third intro I'm doing. But guys, welcome to week 6 preview of Monday evening football fan cast. We're excited to bring this one to you. We got the Tennessee Titans versus the Buffalonian Bills.
I love it.
And Nick, I'm excited for this one. I think there's only one way to get excited, to get up for that's definitely you're jumping through, a couple of foldable tables and while
Yep,
listening to country music. I think that's the only way you can do this game and do it justice.
absolutely. Amateur WWE. It's some
Yeah.
Darius Rucker. That's all
And some
the Bills
Darius
Mafia
Rucker.
needs. That's all
That's
they
like
need.
that's like the combination between the Tennessee Titans and the Bills
That's what it
is
is. Their love
Darius
of
Rucker and
Derek.
you know some WWE going through some tables.
There we go.
Um, but yeah, I am pretty excited about this one. This one is going to be a powerhouse of a matchup too.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, everyone knows the Tennessee Titans just got Julio Jones, so they now have Ryan Tannehill, AJ Brown, Julio Jones, Derrick Henry, just a complete powerhouse of an offense. Now they did lose a guy like Jonnu Smith, and who went to the New England Patriots, got
Yeah.
paid. So you do have a couple losses on the offensive side of the ball there, but I don't think the losses are going to outweigh the leaps and bounds that this Tennessee Titans team is probably going to take this year because you have a guy like Ryan Tannehill, which has seemed to figure things out, getting out from underneath. That one guy that used to coach Miami, that coached the Jets, but I believe he also coached at the Bears organization once in a blue moon there,
That's all right.
and we've known them for not having great quarterbacks in the past, so it makes sense there. But good to see a guy like Ryan Tannehill getting out, getting ready to throw some zingers. Probably go for a couple thousand-yard seasons this
For,
year because obviously AJ Brown and Julio Jones. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that is a tandem that is probably not to be messed with. And then you have Derrick Henry in there, and when it just comes to offensive firepower, Nick, I just think this team has it all.
oh yeah, this is a team that we've been excited about for a while, talking on the morning show about Julio Jones for so many days in a row. It felt like it is
It's been a while.
reasonable to believe that this game could be a preview of the AFC Championship game. Now, feel the way you want to feel about the Chiefs. I'm not
I
saying it's
agree.
definitely going to be, but it's got a damn good chance. So, yeah, that offensive firepower that Tennessee brings to the table is fascinating. They at this point, you've got to start considering that there's a chance they could be the best offense in the NFL. There's a real chance at that. They could be
I
wildly efficient. They might not be as explosive as a team like the um, Chiefs, but if I'm being honest, I don't know. I don't know that it's all that crazy different when you have Derrick Henry and Julio Jones. Like,
Well, and that's probably the argument to make there between like them and the Chiefs, where the Chiefs, they have Clyde Hilaire Edwards, who's a
yep,
solid running back, but when you compare him to Derrick Henry, probably not on the same caliber, maybe down a peg. But then you have a guy like AJ Brown and Julio Jones, which rivals that receiving core for Kansas City and Travis
yep.
Kelsey and the Cheetah Tyreek King, so or Tyreek Hill,
Tyreek
sorry.
Hill.
Tyreek King. Who am I? Never mind.
Uh,
It's my mug here. King of the Jungle is what I was thinking of.
that's what it is.
But he so you have those guys, and then you have those guys for the Titans that really match the offensive firepower. So then it really comes down to a guy like Ryan Tannehill or Patrick Mahomes, and you obviously see that Patrick Mahomes is more of a flashier type of player at the quarterback position than a Ryan Tannehill. Not for nothing or anything. Like Ryan Tannehill can be in the pocket, still make great plays.
Oh
We've
yeah,
seen so many quarterbacks over the years do that, and especially when you have a guy like Derrick Henry who's picking up your blind side if he's staying in the block, you're handing it off to him, or you're hitting one
yeah,
of the best receivers down the middle of the field for a 40-yard bomb because, with guys like A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, that stuff's going to happen.
yep.
Now, I will be interested to see how Tennessee's defensive side of the ball looks because last year they weren't historically great, but they did spend over 100 million to improve their defense with
Yep.
additions such as cornerback Janarius Jenkins, outside
Mm,
linebacker Bud Dupree, and defensive lineman Denico Autry. So you
yep.
do have a couple big pickups there. They also drafted first round Caleb Farley, who's a cornerback, and I was looking him up actually because I think the first round picks are always interesting because I feel like those
Oh
are the
yeah.
guys that obviously have a chance to make an immediate impact on that team, and especially during week 6, we could hear a guy like Caleb Farley's name, quite a bit. Now, from what I hear, the kid's got great size for the cornerback position, great size and
Mm,
length. Now, the only thing is he might be a little shy on some reps, but by week 6, it may not be an issue because he does have some
right.
inconsistencies with staying attached to routes. Now, I know the Buffalo Bills are watching this and they're like, oh, they're writing down notes. Now, given, I will say this, by week 6, I don't know if he's going to have that problem, but if you're the
Right.
Buffalo Bills, you should be taking the little notes that I am giving you because they are little tidbits, if you will.
Oh yes. Gems,
Um,
really
because we're
gems.
not, yeah, we're not really just trying to help the fantasy footballers or the betters, but we are trying to help these organizations as well get better, any way that we can.
Of
So,
course.
but I think a guy like Caleb Farley, by the time he gets to week 6, it ain't gonna be no problem. This kid's gonna be out here hawking balls, intercepting everything. Josh Allen's gonna be like, "Who is this guy?"
Uh,
Probably have two, three interceptions just by himself.
no doubt.
It's gonna be amazing. My prediction for Caleb Farley is probably 2 interceptions that game and maybe a forced fumble. Maybe
Oh,
that
look at
might be a
that.
little bit,
That's
but maybe that's what I'm locking in on the FanDuel, the DraftKings, the Barstool Sportsbook, any one of them that wants to pick us up. I will lock that bet in with you.
absolutely. That's phenomenal.
Um,
You see,
yeah,
you speak very highly of him. Do you think that that is the element of the Titans everyone is overlooking? Is the defensive component?
I mean, yeah, obviously with the powerhouse that is the offense of the Tennessee
Hmm.
Titans, I think the defensive component does get overlooked. And now last year they weren't a very great defensive team. They lost, I think, 4 or 5 guys that were starters. I think 4 guys. And the knock was like I think like Malcolm Butler was one of those guys that they lost. A few others as well. But the knock on those guys, like they were key guys to lose, but they all played on the same defense that was not great. So
Yep.
is it really a tough thing to lose those guys? And I think the overall consensus was most likely not. So I do think if the Titans defense does get considerably better, that is a factor that these teams probably, you know, aren't focused on as much.
Yep. Yep.
Because obviously the big names on the other side of the ball. Um,
No doubt.
but yeah, that'll be an interesting component to keep an eye on throughout the season. If the Tennessee Titans are just whooping ass
For
40
sure.
to 12,
Well,
40 to 20.
that's the thing with that type of offense that they have. I mean, they're looking to get up early in some games and then just give the ball to Derrick Henry and play defense. I mean, it could be that easy. Let's
It really
get
could.
get these get this offense firing early, and then once we get a lead, like good luck. You gotta stop Derrick Henry, and you gotta go make a few plays against him. That's terrifying. And then they just take care of you when you've got the ball. They've got a defense that can hold that lead.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, but let's talk a little bit about before we get any more predictions. Obviously, we've got predictions on the game and stuff.
Of course.
Let's talk a little bit about Tennessee Titans history.
Oh,
You got a
all right.
favorite Tennessee Titans player? Just that go back throughout the days?
Oh, it's tough, man. I think Steve McNair, obviously that's a tough one, but it's like,
Yeah,
I mean, pretty pretty awesome. Steve McNair, definitely. That's
yeah,
no doubt about it. On the football field, that dude is special talent. I like
yeah,
Eddie George. I think Eddie George is a guy that gets
yeah.
overlooked a lot of the time. I feel like
I
Eddie
think, especially when you're talking about good running backs back in the day.
Yes, Eddie George and Sean Alexander, to me personally,
Yeah,
in the
I would
age
agree.
range that you and I are working in, and I do think on the younger side of the spectrum for some people watching this, but for a lot of younger football fans than us, a lot of guys that are finding football now, maybe even, right? A lot of these kids in junior high and high school, like they just don't know. They don't know about Eddie George. A lot of kids in college right now don't know about Eddie George, but Eddie George and Sean Alexander from that era are guys that get forgotten about all the time, and both of them were, I mean, really like almost almost like transformative running backs in the sense that I mean they were these guys that like did some things that you hadn't really seen before. And Eddie George, yeah, he's definitely a guy that I think sometimes gets overlooked. And really that running back position, right? When you have a team like the Titans that used to be so known for the run game, it's
Yeah,
like nowadays that run game is so not really a factor. I mean, Aaron Jones, we love Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is one of the best running backs in the league, and honestly, a lot of people know him because of his pass catching ability. It's
yeah,
like the reality is it's just a different league. But I think if I, you know, if I had to, I would probably go with Eddie George
yeah.
first
I
to
would
keep
I would
going.
have to say for me it'd be either Steve McNair or Derek Mason, who used to be a wide receiver for him, and a return man, a very good one.
Oh yeah,
Um, And yeah, that guy used to be my jam. With just watching essentially that team that played the Rams, I believe, in the Super Bowl that year,
yep,
where they just a yard short. That
uh,
was that Titans team. That was like my AFC team. I had the Packers, and then
yep.
I had the Titans with those guys, and they were very fun to watch for sure. Um,
Well, it's
but
interesting because speaking of which, it's that season that makes this game so interesting because if you recall, is that I believe that is the season of the Music City Miracle, which was perpetrated by the Titans against the Buffalo Bills. So when you talk about that historical component of the Titans, some of the Titans possibly their greatest play in the history of their franchise is quite possibly a play that happened against the Buffalo Bills in the Music City Miracle. And so, that is a storyline during this game that I love. A little bit of history with these two programs, and now all of a
they're
sudden they're
yeah,
uh, they're both damn good.
yep, and a little bit of history that is not being talked about probably by the mainstream media just quite yet. But here we are bringing it to you on a beautiful
Early,
Monday
we're
in
on it
summer.
early.
We're on it early, baby. That's how we do. If we're not first, we're last. That's our mantra.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
breaking every news story before it breaks, or we don't talk about it.
That's
No,
the
I'm kidding.
that's the fact.
I'm kidding. That's not how we operate here. You guys know this. Um, but I think that gives us a very good look at the Tennessee Titans offensively and defensively, and a little history thrown in there. Now we move over to the other side, and that is with the Buffalo Bills and Bills
Yes.
Mafia, and Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley,
Oh yeah.
um, and some other top tier talents that is the Buffalo Bills. You know, made it to they were in the AFC Championship game last year, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
against the Chiefs.
Yep.
Got knocked out there, which, you know, um, we knew a lot of people that were rooting for them. And I think with what they've done this offseason, they're probably sitting in a pretty good position to be able to make another run at things. You have another year further with Josh Allen,
Yeah.
and you get to see his his growth continue. And I think, he's on the right path where if he just keeps putting in the work, you are going to see him exponentially grow quick to a top tier. He is essentially one of those guys that now that you have this older generation of quarterbacks start to leave, the Philip Rivers, the Drew Brees,
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger probably after this year, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers both knocking on that door as well. You do have these young guys, starting to step up, and I think you do have a guy in Josh Allen who is going to make a huge impact at the quarterback position
Oh
when
yeah.
it's all said and done.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I think when it's all said and done, I mean, Josh Allen has all the tools. He's a gunslinger at the end of the day. I mean, if we're being honest,
He really is.
there's a Brett Favre quality to him on the field, and
Yeah, for sure.
this sort of swag to him that people love, and I am one of them. I think Josh Allen is amazing. Like that guy is a absolutely phenomenal quarterback. He they go as he goes in a lot of ways, right? And that is
Yep.
always kind of awesome to see because in a weird way, I don't think that the Titans go as Tannehill goes. I really
Yeah,
don't. I think it's a little bit different. I think as much as you can in the NFL, certainly, obviously the quarterback
yeah,
is touching the ball every play, but I really think the Buffalo Bills really do go as Josh Allen goes. I think he's a galvanizing force in the locker room. I think all the guys like him. It seems that he is an actual leader for that team, and
Yes.
it's pretty awesome to watch because he was not very good his rookie year, and he wasn't even great his like his second year in the league. Like he has really put in the work and figured it out, and it's kind of awesome to watch Josh Allen
Yeah.
play football.
And
I think he's starting to figure it out, man, because he used to drive people crazy. Bills fans
yeah.
used to drive him crazy with that sort of gunslinger mentality. But at the end of the day, man, that's the type of quarterback I like to watch. Is a guy that's just ready to let that thing rip and
Yeah.
see what happens.
And on that note, I will say it is nice for him to have a guy like Stephon Diggs,
Yep.
who is probably a top five receiver, definitely a top
Oh
five
yeah.
receiver
Oh
in the
yeah.
NFL. And the other thing too is to not only have a top five receiver in Stephon Diggs, but have a happy Stephon Diggs in Buffalo.
Yes.
Getting him the
Yes.
ball a lot. Really making sure he does get his touches. Stephon Diggs is happy. Now, Nick, I will say this. You have Stephon Diggs, you have Cole Beasley lining up on the other side of him.
Yep.
Is Cole Beasley going to make it to this game, week 6? Because
Yes.
as I hear now, he's maybe contemplating retirement because he doesn't want to have to deal with it. Which, hey, I'll be honest, he doesn't want to deal with the COVID stuff.
That's
Which I'll be
yep.
honest with you, if Cole Beasley actually retired because he didn't want to deal with that stuff, I would have a lot of respect for him in that decision because that's not an easy thing to do.
Mm.
Walk away from, for whatever reason it is, and maybe it is you don't want to get vaccinated, and
Right.
you know what, that's a personal decision. And if you do what you want with your body, I'll do what I want with my body, and we should let women do what they want with their body. But
No doubt.
that's an opinion that I have, and Cole
Yeah. Right.
Beasley
Right.
might not share that. But if I'm being honest, he'll probably be there week 6.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I would say I agree. I would agree across the board. I agree across the board. I think,
Or maybe
he's.
retires halfway through the season if it becomes such a pain. But I
I
think
do.
by the time the season comes around, I think it just lightens up.
Yep.
Essentially.
I do think that's the reality, right? Like he probably would be jumping the gun in terms of it might not matter anyway once we really get going into this thing. Because of that, I don't know. It's like he's probably there. He's probably there. I think it's interesting to, definitely bold though. I agree with you to take that stance and feel like, look, this is the way I feel. Like I'm gonna have to explain this at some point. Like it, like so. I'm just kind of letting people know how I feel, and like I think as long as like I guess I don't know how to describe it. Like I think the locker room probably is cool with all that. I
Mm-hmm.
like at the end of the day, I don't think it ends up being a distraction or anything like
Yeah.
that. So I mean, for him to either play or not, I mean, it is what it is. The question really is, if you're the Bills organization, like, how do you feel a little bit in limbo right now? Because he is a key component of what you're trying to do offensively, and we're at a point now in the preseason and stuff where like you're not just going to be able to replace that necessarily if he does decide, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and retire.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a little bit tricky for the organization from that standpoint. I'm sure they would want a little more clarity from him on like which way he's leaning, but
and
I mean they
and
always do,
yeah,
right?
and I'm sure the organization probably does have more clarity on that situation than what is out and about. I mean, I think we find that across the board that there's probably more information going on behind the scenes than what's being reported. Whether that's in Buffalo or another little town like Green Bay or something. I don't know, just a
No
name a
doubt.
name a place. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. And really, I don't know if Cole Beasley. I think like we said, Cole Beasley's probably going to be there. But if you do lose a guy like Cole Beasley, you would hope someone would be able to step up in his place. But I don't know if the defensive side of the or the offensive side of the ball is going to be much of an issue for. What I would like to see is that defense, take
Hmm.
a stride forward this year because last year they were kind of a middle of the pack defense. I believe
Yep.
is what Bleacher Report had those guys ranked at, and I would be curious to see if some of those guys on defense, and I'm is Micah Hyde still with the Buffalo Bills, or did he
That is
move
a
on
correct.
somewhere else?
That's a great question.
Um,
Let me find that out. But I mean, a former Packer that we both definitely wish had
let's
maybe been able to stay, had maybe been able to stay in Green Bay, right? Because at the end of the
Bills have
day,
excellent pairings at two spots. Other spots, their defense, other spots, linebacker Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano are up and coming, while the
yep,
safety duo of Micah Hyde and Jordan
yep,
Poyer are established. So yeah,
okay,
Micah Hyde was a guy that I enjoyed watching as a Packer. I thought he played the position very well. And
oh
then I
yeah,
did see him go, in a few games with Buffalo, and I was like, man, that was definitely a guy I wish we could have kept. And
right,
the Buffalo Bills have a great guy in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, and um, it seems like they have some great up and coming linebackers too, based on the research that I just did, and which is
yes,
solid. It's solid. It's from the Bills Wire, which
oh yeah,
that's a reliable source
solid
because
publication
yeah,
for
it
sure,
is a solid publication, and it's our guy over there, our guy Nick Wooten. He was writing for the Bills Wire. You remember
no
Nick?
doubt.
You remember when we met him?
Old Nick, we
Yeah,
called him.
old Nick.
It's
Yeah,
a
that's what you
because
called him. You're like old Nick, cause I'm young Nick. I
yeah,
I do remember that now.
that's right,
I was
that's
like,
right.
bro, that's bold. I will say
Yeah,
that.
you gotta let him know.
But yeah, so I think, yeah, I would like to see that defense improve a little further along in some aspects. But I think, I think this article did touch on it very well that they do have some up and comers at the linebacker position, and they are very solid in the secondary.
Yep.
Um, so Nick, I will say this. I'll ask you this. I'll ask the same question, and then I got a
All right.
follow up question. Um, favorite Buffalo Bills player in history?
Not gonna say O.J. Simpson, but
Oh man.
part
Okay,
of
I was gonna say O.J. Simpson,
part of
but
me wanted to. Probably Doug Flutie.
yeah, probably Doug Flutes.
Probably
Actually,
Flutie, or maybe
my
Jim
favorite
Kelly.
Buffalo
Maybe.
Bills player is a little bit of a cop out, but he was drafted there. He did play there, and that is Marshawn Lynch.
That's true. He was drafted by the Bills and famous for saying how much he disliked the city of Buffalo, like
Yeah.
just the nightlife and like the city, which I always was kind of like, man, like this guy is like is really really willing to speak his mind. Like while he was playing for the team. Like this is
Oh yeah.
like while you're there, you live in the city and you're like, man, this city's trash. Like
Yeah.
that was a
Well,
wild scenario.
yeah. Well, I remember that because he did not seem very happy in Buffalo,
No,
and
no.
it was just that turmoil of like Marshawn Lynch. Like, is he going to be good? Is he not going to be good?
Right.
But there's just so much stuff going on, like with him not being happy in
Right.
Buffalo. You didn't know, and then lo and behold, he gets to go to the Seahawks. But yeah, that would probably be
That's a good
my
one.
favorite Buffalo
I
Bill.
like that. They did pick him. I think if you look back, I think Jim Kelly is obviously a
Yeah, for
legend in
sure.
the league. I think you can't really talk about the Buffalo Bills without talking about him. I think but for me personally, probably Flutie. Flutie was like was
Yeah,
awesome. Like Flutie had a run in Buffalo that was kind of unreal. So I would probably go with Flutie for myself.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would have to agree. And then the follow up question to that, Nick,
Mm.
is how many tables do you think Doug Flutie is going to fly through this season, a part of Bills Mafia?
Oh man,
Over under one.
Doug Flutie. I don't see it happening. I don't see him being a through the table guy. I would take the under. Now,
Ooh,
if you're telling me how many tables are going to get broken in Buffalo in this year, this season,
yeah, this season.
oh
Let's put
man,
that on
you might have to set that over under at like 8
225.
8 home games. So like I
Yeah.
mean, if you're breaking 30 tables a game, you're talking like 320. Like I don't know. I'm thinking like maybe like that's probably like a
Yeah, but you
solid
also
like
gotta, realize like even the away games, the Buffalo Bills fans are still
that's
probably
true.
breaking tables.
That's
It's
true.
just maybe not as much and not as condensed in the same area.
Right. Right. What an like because it's not like they started doing it when they were good. Like they weren't winning a lot like originally and
Seven,
like it is
you know what?
amazing.
someone was like, you know what? We're not doing our part as fans. We need to be sacrificing ourselves for this team.
If we can
Okay,
get
we
on
need to at
the
least
internet,
jumping through these tables, and if we
dude,
do it enough times, enough good karma will build, and we'll be a good team. And hey, that logic has seemed to have been working out for the Buffalo Bills because they have gotten a lot better over the last couple of years.
I wonder how much money like Barstool Sports made like just by reposting videos from the Bill. Like how many impressions they got
Oh,
just by
yeah,
reposting Bills Mafia videos like 3 years ago.
yep. But I will say that is something that is unique to their team.
It is,
You know
and it
that
is awesome.
yeah, it is. It is. I would love to partake one day.
Yes, yes. I think we should absolutely head on up to a Bills game with the whole
Oh, maybe
crew.
week 6.
Maybe week
Look,
6. Maybe
I
we do it. Hey, you never know.
is that a home game? Is
You
that a
never
home
know.
game? I would have to double check. If that was a home game in Buffalo,
Maybe
maybe
we
we'd venture up.
maybe
We
take
take
a
a trip to
swing at it.
Niagara Falls
Oh, it's a beautiful
and
place.
swing on through. That's
Uh,
what I hear.
it's fun. It's
That's what
fun.
I hear.
It's very fun.
But yeah. So let's get into a little bit of a prediction time here, Nick. We
Mm.
got a week six matchup. You got the Titans versus the Bills. What are we thinking? Standout players, and then let's do final scores.
All right. So I think in that game, I see that being a game where it's a battle of those star receivers. I see a Julio Jones and a Stephon Diggs as the players of the game. I see a battle to try to show who's the best out of those two, right? You might be talking about, like we
Okay.
talked about earlier, you're very well talking about two of the top four receivers in the NFL, possibly. I mean, this is the
Yep.
reality. Two of the top five, I think, is a guarantee. And so,
Yeah.
in that case, I think those will be your standouts. I also see a shootout. I see reasonably that being a bit of a shootout. I could see that being 37-34 Bills with the win.
Okay.
That's
Okay. I like that.
that's the world
I
I'm in.
think yeah, and I agree. And I think everything we talked about today leads to that game being a shootout, just with the offensive firepowers that they have and their defenses both looking to improve this season.
Yep.
Now, I will take a little bit different of a stance. Obviously, I think a standout player, I already talked about it, Caleb Farley, that first round
That's
pick.
right.
He's going to come in with 2 interceptions
That's right.
and potentially, don't lock me in on this one, guys, a fumble forced on
Yes.
Derrick Henry, potentially.
Yes.
So then you got to look at the other side of the ball. I think Micah Hyde gets an interception
Oh,
from Ryan Tannehill. I think he
interesting.
gets one there. So I think there's going to be some defensive battling here, a little more expected. I still think it's going to be a little higher scoring game. I think it's going to be 31-27.
Nice.
I do have to give the edge to the Tennessee Titans, obviously,
Oh,
because of our guy Caleb Farley
yep.
and Julio Jones and everything else we mentioned. But I will say, in preparation to that game, I might be a part of the mafia for a little bit
Oh,
there.
I'm
For a little.
I hope we get to see it. I think either way, that's going to be a phenomenal game. That could end up being game of the year at the end of the day, and that that one's going to be a fun one either way. I'm very excited for that game. That's going to be a fun one.
For sure. Start to finish. I mean, we're gonna be in halftime. I'm probably just gonna have like 10 tables lined up,
No doubt.
and we're just like every time the Buffalo scores, boom, we'll go through one.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
You know,
See, that's some grade A content. That's what we provide here at Fancast TV at the
for
end of the day.
sure, guys. You're not gonna see this from, who are some of those guys that are up in the booth? Mike Tirico, he's not jumping through a table.
No, he would never. He would never. Even in his wildest
Nope.
of days, John Gruden would have never thought to.
If Troy Aikman's not doing that,
No, he couldn't. His body might fall apart.
no, for sure. Chris Collinsworth,
No, no way.
no.
I don't know how he'd do getting up on the ladder.
I mean, the only guy that has done a football game that would do it is Pat McAfee. I'm trying to think about some other people. Maybe Tony Romo back in the days.
He could maybe
Um,
pull it off. He's got that skill set.
yeah, but not much. Not much. Not much reporters doing what we're doing over here. And you know what? That's why we're a little different. And
Excellent.
I like to say that's why we're a little better.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, can't say we're not unique.
No, we are not. Oh, we are.
Yes, we, dude.
Oh,
Oh, what a time! What a
yeah,
time!
you can't say it
I
for
love
sure.
it, man.
But yeah, I think. Yeah, I think Nick. Both of those predictions are. I think it's going to be a close game. and on the higher end of the scoring spectrum when it comes to
Yeah.
the
Oh
Tennessee
yeah.
and the Buffalo
No
Bills
doubt.
in Week 6. And I guess you guys, meaning the fans at home, are going to have to tune in Week 6 Monday Evening Football to see just how many tables we go through. And the over/under is set at 3. That's one for Nick. That's one for me, and
Three
potentially one
takeaways.
for the people at home. Or maybe I'm going through two. I don't know how it feels. I might get jazzed up when I do it. Two might not be enough either. So leave a comment below how many tables we could go through before we couldn't go through any tables anymore. Because I think
Absolutely.
it's probably going to be a lot. I think so. Um, but yeah, hey, that's our Week 6 matchup essentially.
That's it. That's the
That's
one.
what it is. Everything to expect Week 6, breakout players, things to bet on. Take it to the bank because this Week 6 matchup is going to be we're locking it in as far as our projections, and I think this one's really going to hold up, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for it. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to it. Guys, check
should
us out tomorrow afternoon. We're back on. It's 1:30 Central Time. We will be getting into some of these headlines. Just come check us out. Come chill a little bit on the stream with us.
yeah, a lot of interesting things happening in the NFL. So we will see you guys tomorrow afternoon.